Good evening, everyone. Hi, let me get my water. You have your water. I'm here.
As you're starting.
Sorry, we're starting. Hello. So people will be jumping on, but we're just gonna go through these questions we have. Thank you for doing this. So hi, everyone. My name is Victoria. I am a wife to this man. I am a mom of 3 girls, and I'm a doula. I run this practice, Mother Well Doula Service, with the great support and help of you. So thank you.
Welcome.
And as you can tell, Ben absolutely loves social media and live video just as much as I do. But I was very grateful. I asked you if you would do this. You kindly said yes. So the reason I wanted to talk first about partner support, especially right now, is because during the pandemic, many hospitals are going to have different labor restrictions in place. Side note, I see my little sister is here. Hi, it's good to see you. So depending on where you give birth, and you might have seen some of these very extreme headlines where partners are not allowed. Thankfully, we're kind of seeing those things overturned. I've not yet heard of any of that happening in Kentucky where we are, so that is very good news. But in some of these hotspot places, you're going to see headlines like mom's going to labor and delivery alone, things like that. I don't expect that to continue because there was such a public outcry, there's such public support, and we know that change is driven, right, especially in kind of business settings, it's driven by consumer preference. So keep speaking, keep advocating to keep your partner there with you. But on the same note, when partners are allowed, in many cases, it's only going to be a partner. So it'll just be the mom and the dad or whoever's partnering her, just one person allowed. In some cases, especially locally, I'm very grateful to those who still permitted doulas. I'm a certified doula. Very grateful to the hospitals where I can still go in and provide in-person support. But you know, this is very different. Sometimes we're used to seeing like grandmas, aunts, uncles. I know we've had, your sister came with us to one of our births. That was very special. So it's sad that community is lost, but that also means for partner, what does that mean if it's just you the whole time?
It's all you.
It's all you, man. So we wanted to give you some help. So here we go. I asked for questions. I got some great ones, and this will be available later for replay. So here we go. This is an excellent question. What do you even do to help someone in birth? I watch a lot of birth story things online, and a common theme is women being like, my husband was just on his phone, or he didn't even know how to help me, and he just stood there. What do you even do? I can't imagine being there for someone while they're in that much pain and emotionally like a mess. So what would you, and we're gonna have fun. We are gonna laugh. I'll probably say something stupid that I'll regret later. So we're just gonna laugh and have fun and keep it loose. And if you're watching live, if you wanna add any questions, feel free to do that. So what would you say, how do you even do that? Maybe first talk about what would you say to the whole, like, my husband was just on his phone. He was like checking the football score.
Put your phone up.
Okay, you heard it here, people. Put your phone up. Why? Why would you say put the phone up?
Well,
if you were talking to that dad.
Most people are probably on their phone because they did not prepare beforehand.
Yeah, that's valid. Or they're nervous or unsure what to do.
Yeah, so preparing for labor is not preparing for an outcome.
Right.
It's preparing to respond in the moment. So a lot of husbands are probably just on their phone or don't know what to do because there's been no preparation, which means there's probably no communication up front.
Yeah, communication preparation.
Other than maybe the wife said, I want a natural birth. And the husband's like, all right, okay, go for it. You do it.
Right. And are natural births easy to be in, Ben?
Easy, yes. So easy.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's not something you can just show up and like, we're going to do this and not think anything else about it.
Since I'm missing sports, let's just use a sport analogy. Yeah. It would be like you're going to play the Patriots.
With or without Tom Brady?
Well,
just saying.
I guess now is without.
Yeah.
But you're going to play a game. Like, you don't show up to it without practicing, without preparing for it, without having a game plan.
That's good.
Similarly, you need a game plan and just talking about it. But it probably starts with putting up the phone, if that's what a lot of these birth stories are talking about.
Yeah. I think, yeah.
Well,
yeah.
Yeah.
You can go ahead. No, you're fine. I'm going to answer the...
I was going to move on to another part of that question. But.
Well, you can't. Yeah. I was going to say, we are going to talk about what do you even do? We've got a few more questions that are specifically going to answer that. So what part do you want to discuss? That's a good...
Well, like the last part, I can't imagine being there for someone while they're in that much pain.
Yeah.
An emotional mess.
Yeah.
That's a good way of putting it. I think I know who sent this question in, but I won't call him out.
Yeah. That's a good question. How do you...
No,
yeah.
But even that starts beforehand. Like if you're already doing that reciprocally.
Yeah.
Like together, then
as a couple, you mean?
As a couple, like if the husband's doing it for the wife and the wife is doing it for the husband, it's natural to want to do something. So
yeah,
I don't know how to answer that one other than that. Like it's easier to do it if you're already doing it.
Yeah.
So
it is.
Hi Amanda.
Hi. Now your sister's
now my
here.
Sister's watching.
And Jolyn. Hi. Julie is a doula in Western Kentucky. I'm so glad you're here. So yeah, you can't. I mean, that's a really good point.
Like it doesn't just.
That's a really good point.
You can't just do that in labor if you're not consistently doing it before.
You heard it here first, people. You can't be there emotionally for someone if you're not consistently doing it beforehand. I would absolutely agree with that. That's a really good point. And I would say as a doula, like I've seen just about 20 births now, I've seen the couples who I would say handled labor best as a team were very emotionally connected beforehand. When I met with them prenatally, they would like read each other's moods. You could tell they just were very in tune, emotional. And they did great. Like, so that's a really good point. It's not, I always say that labor skills, mic drop, claps, all the claps. Labor skills are life skills. And so if you already are having some communication issues with your partner, maybe if you guys are just, emotionally, we've always struggled to really emotionally connect. Labor is not the time to learn how to do that. You really would benefit from beforehand.
Then you will be on your phone.
Then you will be on your phone. Yeah. And to that, I want to say too, people who are on their phone in labor, dad, I've seen this. Okay. I've been a doula with a dad on his iPad, sometimes the whole time, sometimes part of the time. Sometimes, this goes to your point about preparation. I really think that's just a reflex. I think it is incredibly intimidating. Or they're nervous. Yeah. It's some kind of block. Like, I don't quite know what's going on. So I'm going to kind of zero in on something that does make sense in a world that really doesn't make sense to me right now. And that is why, to your point, preparation is so important. If you know your partner is going to be like that, hire a doula. Seriously, even now where doulas are restricted, they would still be giving you virtual support. It could be very beneficial just to have someone there on a phone or behind a screen, like giving you some tips, coaching you through it. So yeah, I think sometimes, like, I kind of read those stories. Of course, an impulse is like, oh my gosh, why is he on his phone? She's in so much pain. But like, try to see it from that dad's perspective. Like he could just kind of be like blocking out, shutting down, like what's even happening right now. It's not because he's a jerk. Okay. Is what I'm trying to say all the time. It's because they're just nervous and they need that support. So we'll talk about, at the end of this, I'm going to have tips for my, kind of what we talk about and then recommendations, but we'll move on to a next question. Was there one that you saw that hit your...
No, you do. This is your show. I'm just answering questions.
Okay. So this will be good. How do we, so kind of starting from the beginning, how do we make decisions about what pregnancy and delivery or birth would look like? How involved are you as like a partner and a husband? How do we talk about that beforehand? What was our process like? Let's see comments. While you're thinking about this question, because I know you like to think through things, Joey, I want to call out in the comments, has a very good point. A lot of times partners are reacting to the loss of control. A lot of times partners will identify as a person who can protect and provide, and birth is just certainly, it's kind of the wild, wild west sometimes. And that loss of control, that kind of just needing to go with the flow can be like, again, just staggering, like what's going on. So again, these are things, labor skills are life skills. We're just applying them in labor. So it's really good to do a check of yourself. How good are you at those things beforehand? So how did we kind of talk about this? If someone's watching this and they're pregnant, they want tips on.
Well, I'm trying to think.
I'm getting hot, and I don't know why, so I'm going to take my sweater off. But it's because I'm next to you.
Well, I don't think we changed much from Carson.
That's true. Our first, yeah.
So, and if I remember correctly, with Carson,
Yeah.
because we joke, like the one thing I wish I knew about you before was like your crazy birth stuff.
Yeah.
Can I say that on a doula
Yes,
live
you can
video?
say crazy birth stuff.
So once we found out that Carson was coming,
Yeah.
you basically had a plan in mind, and I was so ignorant. I was just like,
Okay.
sure, whatever.
And we both were like, I thought that would work too. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but once we got into it, because there was a certain birth method class that we signed up for that we
Yes.
went to one class, I think.
We didn't make it.
And we didn't make it.
Yes.
Because we had a lot going on.
Yes.
Like, expecting our first child aside, like, there was just a lot of stuff going on. So, like, in that moment, like, we talked together. We're like, hey, I don't think it's going to be wise for us to do this class. Let's find another alternative, which we ended up doing another birth class with the lady who ended up being our doula for Nora.
Yeah, second.
So I think my main role, though, was probably just a sounding board.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I really tried to sway decisions, mainly because you had a lot of stuff in mind already, and you had thought through it, and it was evident that you had thought through it, and you had reasons for why we should do it the way you were talking about. But I don't know. I never would feel comfortable saying something like, I think you need to do this in this context, like, because
I think
I'm
like
not pushing a baby out of my body, so.
You also heard it here first.
Yeah.
I don't know how much. Yeah, you're not pushing a baby out, so that was another question. I don't know if it made it
just
on
a
here.
sounding board.
Yeah.
Like, just listen and like ask questions. Like when we switched hospitals for Harper. Like, I think the only thing I really did there was just ask questions and try to just understand why you wanted to do it.
What would you say to a partner who maybe does, and I've seen this, it happens. So what would you say to a partner who has very specific ideas of how something ought to go? And it could be congruent with the wife, or it could not. Like the wife might want, for example, it usually goes this way. Wife wants to go natural or do pain med free, but then the partner's like, that's stupid, you're crazy, So what would you say to the partner who has a different idea or just a strong opinion of his own about what birth should be like or preferences? Yeah, what would you say?
Yeah, why do you have preferences? First off.
Yeah. How would the couple, that birth team handle that?
Probably poorly.
Yeah.
But I shouldn't say that. I don't know that for sure. But
it's something to talk about.
I mean, you'd have to just. That's where like your communication comes into play. Like if you're communicating well in other areas where disagreements might come up, you're going to be able to do it this way. But I think from the husband's standpoint, when it comes to labor and delivery and even that newborn stage, I can't really think of a hill to die on. Yeah. So just like to say, roll off that hill. Yeah. And
rolling off that hill.
And just support, because like
right.
It's an emotional mess and pain, as the first question just talked about. If the wife knows that you're second guessing, like in the moment, like when labor is happening, I mean, she's not going to feel comfortable. That's a good point. So you're going to have a harder time supporting her.
You were always really kind too, just to point out, like, and I think this is good, like, the dad has his own, dad or partner, again, sometimes it's not always the dad of the baby, but the partner, they do have their own experience they're going through, but I think, and you always acknowledge this, which I think is very helpful, that your body isn't doing the work. You're doing a lot of work supportedly, but you've always honored the fact that it's like, this is your body doing this, so like, I am here to support whatever your body wants to do, and not having strong opinions either way. And I think I can see some examples you know, like if for example, there's like some trauma history or something, there's some special circumstance on either side, you know, I don't know.
It's so unique. It's so unique to try to.
Yeah, like I could see, for example, a dad, like maybe a wife or, you know, the mom, whoever wants to do a plan, and maybe the dad has like a sister or an aunt who did the same thing and it had a bad outcome. Like that would be something to talk through, certainly. And again, a doula would be very helpful. You know, counseling, like something like that. Again, these are probably life skills you would need to be working through, but they're going to come out in labor. So just, it's not always black and white, but labor skills are life skills.
Yeah, labor is just intense life.
Labor is intense life. And this is a good, we'll answer this one too quickly and then get into some other like kind of gritty, like practical ones. Someone asked this, how much would you encourage a wife to stick to the birth plan versus acknowledging when circumstances have changed? And I've had parents ask me this, you know, like we'll be talking, again, we're using the example of like natural birth because I think this is typically the kind of environment where these things play out, but I'll try to think of other examples too. This could be any birth scenario, but often it's something like, I don't want to have pain meds. And so the dad's like, okay, so when she asks for an epidural, I say no, right? And you know, we're like, how do I make sure she doesn't get an epidural if she doesn't want one? And again, that's another conversation, but what would you say kind of like to the... Yeah, I mean, these are real questions. They're good questions. I know. So if you know, a mom has a plan, I want it to go as planned. We all understand, like, there's a whole conversation. Birth plans, it's like a separate topic, but I'm of the philosophy, like the power of birth planning, if you will, really is in the preparation. Birth planning means you're learning your options. You're knowing what's out there. You're not going to be surprised. Of course, it's not like a projection into the future. You know, a birth plan is just... Let's learn about this, think about our philosophy of care, what's important to us, and then, again, once labor gets rolling, you know, that's a whole, what would you do? Like, do you make a wife, a mom stick to the birth plan? You know?
I think it depends. Yeah.
You can give personal examples, too.
Well.
So you've seen this 3 times. So.
I have seen this 3 times. I knew with you... there was no option of deviating from the plan.
But that's just me, right? Because you knew me. Yeah, because you knew me.
But I think that's the key. Like, if you know each other and you know the mom. Yeah. Like, again, it's just life. You know, if you already know. But also just having that communication set up. Maybe even practicing how you would have that conversation. Like, if the mom was like, I don't want pain meds, and then all of a sudden she asked for it, like going ahead and having that question or that conversation, like a role play beforehand. But I think it's really, I knew with you, if you were to get an epidural, not that they're bad or they're wrong, but for you, you would have severely beat yourself up.
Well, and a good part of this is medically, I can't have an epidural medically. So for us, for example, our choice is like birth with no pain meds, maybe nitrous if it was available, but it wasn't at the time, or general cesarean, because I can't have an epidural. So that's also part of this. Yeah. Yeah.
So, just have the conversations ahead of time. Like, don't expect to be able to handle them in the moment. Yeah. Preparation and communication. Again, those are my answers.
I agree with that totally. Another tip I would add that some doulas find helpful, 2 things. One is code word. Joey, I know you would know what this is as a fellow Penny Simpkin fan, but code word Penny Simpkin just kind of talks about, like, for example, if you have whatever plan it is, it could be a plan of like, I don't want my mom in the room at all. And then, like, what do you do if you get into the labor and you're like, I need my mom, you know? So whatever, like, a part of the plan is, the code word is kind of an idea that, like, you could say something that the like person, you know, the mom could say something like the code word, which would indicate, I really have changed my mind, you know, no, I really do want this. Or the partner could ask, like, oh, or whatever the code word is, like peanut butter, or, you know, like, I'm for real. Like, maybe that's the code word. I'm for real. The partner could ask, are you for real? And the mom could say, I'm for real. And then everyone would know, okay, cool, the plan changed, we can roll with that. Another tip that kind of often this conversation does come down to pain, to like drugs or no drugs as I see, but I'm thinking too, it could be something like maybe someone's planning for a VBAC and then at the last minute they actually decide they want to repeat cesarean. That's okay. You know, like, what if you planned this whole pregnancy, I'm going to VBAC, and then at the end of it, you're like, actually, I want a cesarean. It could be that too, just kind of learning your partner. And another thing Penny Simpkins says that I think is helpful is the difference between pain and suffering, which again would have to be knowing your partner, but it's very helpful in any labor context because there's going to be some amount of discomfort you're going to have to handle however you're doing that, whether you're acknowledging it as discomfort and moving through it, whether you're giving a different name for that discomfort, whether you're kind of totally dismissing its presence and, you know, whatever method you're choosing, that reality is going to be there. So for the partner, it's helpful to know she's in pain, whatever that word means to you, versus she's suffering, right? So I talk about this prenatally with people. When we have a loss of a loved one, right, we experience pain or we experience suffering without physical pain, right? That hurts us. It kind of tears us up. We're not in physical pain, but emotionally you need a lot of help, right? And then conversely, if you've just done, you know, you've been like running more, if you've just done a really hard run, you might be in some physical pain, but you're not suffering, right? You're not like in emotional agony. You're kind of sore and hurt and might need a shower or whatever, but that's just helpful because honestly, a lot of what I do as a doula is look at the partner and say, this is normal. She's doing really great, you know, or sometimes my favorite thing to do, and if you've been a partner, if you've been a dad with me, you'll know, sometimes if I'm like kind of behind the mom and like whatever, there's a lot of rubbing that goes on, like lower back area, I'll kind of look at the partner and go like, she's doing great, you know, just kind of like, and he'll kind of look at me and nod like, oh, okay, this is normal. And usually this is happening like if the mom's getting more vocal, something like that. I just kind of like to give a little like, you're doing great and she's doing great. But again, that's just me showing him that like pain, like, yeah, she looks whatever, however she looks right now. This is crazy. I know you've never seen your wife or your girlfriend or fiance like this, but this is normal and she's handling it well. So someone wants to know, we'll end on that one. What surprised you most about labor and delivery as a dad? Surprised me.
Obviously, we can only speak to our experience.
Right.
But I think how intense you were.
Which is funny because I could be like pretty intense,
yeah,
like
yes,
in normal life.
It's like times 20 in labor, but that was probably the biggest surprise. I think
intensity.
It's just
that's a good one.
Like we were prepared for it, the event to be intense.
Yeah.
But I think how intense you were in the intenseness was a bit surprising.
Look, you got some laughs from Tracy Weaver. I think she's a doula.
So, yeah.
Yeah, intensity is good, right?
Yeah.
And this is why too, like, you know, of course, I'm gonna say like hire a doula, use a doula, but I think for any dad, I think it's very helpful to have some kind of person there to relieve you for that reason. Even if you don't, you know, some guys are never gonna like leave the room. That's okay. For some dads, you were one of them. You always really benefited from being able to like leave the birth environment for a couple minutes or 30 minutes, whatever, and then come back into it. So again, whether that's like maybe you're really leaning on a nurse, maybe you are you have like a mother-in-law or a mom or whoever, something like that there to kind of like tap in, tap out if you don't have a doula.
Amanda's got me on this one.
Amanda,
easy.
Yeah. So yeah, intensity is one good thing. We'll talk about like someone also wants to know what surprised you about having a newborn. Do you want to answer that freebie now? Or we can talk about newborn like stuff at the end. Unless you have one coming quick to mind.
I think because all of the girls, all three of them, were pretty attached to you. So I think what was most surprising is just learning like to be able to help them most was not actually helping with the baby, but it was helping you so that you could help with the, like, do what needed to be done.
Yeah.
Because, like, I can think with Nora, like once you went back to work,
Yeah.
like she would just like lay on you, but there was like this 3-month stretch where like you went to work and I would try to do the same exact thing and she would like lose her stuff.
Yeah.
So.
And she wouldn't be nursing either. It would just be like
she just wanted to
physically
chill.
lay
She just
on
wanted
me.
to chill on
Yeah.
mom, which is fine. But then like I think what was most surprising is like I think I did a lot with all 3 of them, like directly.
Yeah.
But like the best help was like helping you, getting whatever you needed, or just doing what it takes.
And that will look different. I know.
Yeah,
for
it's
every
different
family,
for everybody. Yeah.
But
our like all 3 of the girls were they were mama's girls, and they still are pretty much. So.
Yeah. That's sweet.
Yeah.
What would you say? So if that is the case, and let's say a dad is feeling, because I think you handled that well, and like you've admitted also you don't like super love newborn stuff. So a nice way that you do support me.
I do like newborns.
I mean, right? He's hated all of our newborns. No, you don't like that phase. Isn't you're definitely the dad when they're like more movie, like toddler age. And we could have a toddler coming in here right now. I don't know, but that's okay because we're parents and we're parenting even at night. But that speaks well to you of like seeing like, hey, like you're thriving, like I'm thriving, they're thriving, they like being together. So what are some ways, I like to, that overwhelms some dads. I think that you really held on to that and it worked for us. But for some people, there's this thought of like, well, I have to do something, or like, if I'm not able to feed them, I can't really take care of them, whatever that looks like. What would you say, what are some ways, what are some ways dads could even be involved, even if the baby is like really wanting mom for some reason? What are other ways like dads could, what are those specific ways?
For dads to be involved?
Yeah, like, or if they're feeling like, I can't really hang out with this baby because they're so attached to mom.
I mean, you can hang out during feedings, whatever feedings may look like for you.
Yeah.
Just talk to mom, talk to baby.
I always really like that.
But just realize that everything probably helps.
Yes.
Like if you're if you just willingly take over. If mom normally cooks dinner and you just start cooking dinner, or
good.
keeping the house clean, if that's
good.
part of it, I honestly
or you have
think
older
it's just,
kids, like
Yeah. So I mean, it looks so different with each one. Like with Harper was so touchy, like we had to get Carson and Nora away a lot.
Yeah.
So just being willing to take the older kids out and get chicken nuggets or whatever it is, and
and it's hard. Like I think there's some things, this is candid Victoria moment, like if I could go back in time, sometimes I wonder like what else could I have done to like help it be more balanced. But also, like you said, it did work. And my favorite tip is like, especially with breastfeeding, again, breastfeeding is sometimes the touchy subject. People can say like, well, if you breastfeed, dads don't really do anything. Some of my favorite memories and something I love suggesting to people is like, hey, when she's feeding, just like bring her some water in a stack and just sit there, like nurse in your bed or a couch where everyone can just kind of pile together. Even if you're like reading a book or you guys are watching a show together or something like that with the baby, those are still some really fond moments, and that's still a way you can be together. I think people can just get creative,
And for us, those first 6 months are normally survival mode.
Yes,
so,
for everyone. Yes,
so
those are
it's just
hard.
like,
You just make it through.
Do it.
Yep.
Do what needs to be done.
Baby wearing is another thing too. Sometimes dads, our third daughter, your machine was very touchy and like being held a lot. So like you would wear her sometimes. That was always very helpful. So ideas. Okay, we're skipping around a lot. But I didn't organize these beforehand. This is good, and this could apply for the newborn phase, but it's talking about labor specifically. How do you stay energized and fresh while supporting in labor? So like labor is long. The longest time I have been with clients continually was 22 hours, I think. But the longest like labors I've supported have been like 40. And those usually involved like it would ramp up and then it kind of stop and you go home and sleep a little bit and then come back. So knowing labor can be very fast or sometimes very long. How would you what are some tips for staying fresh?
Well, know yourself.
Yeah.
And what you need to stay fresh. Like you mentioned just a few minutes ago about stepping out.
Yeah.
Like as a...
like a support person.
Yeah. Well, and then like as someone myself who's tends to be more introverted and having more people at the hospital, that can be somewhat draining. So just getting away for 30 minutes, even if you don't go see anybody else, that was helpful. I think...
Pro tip, if you're in a hospital, the chapel is sometimes open and a nice little, I don't know if you knew this. I'm sorry. Too late now.
Yeah.
If it's in the, of course, labor a lot of times happening at night, but that's another, or sometimes they'll have different waiting rooms on different floors, or you can go back to your car, just little tips. You can kind of find a little quiet spot and away from people if you just need to go decompress. I highly recommend that. And
I know for us, at least with Nora, the way we ran it is, even though our doula came to the house, we kind of said, I'm going to like work my tail off at the house, and the doula is going to bear the brunt at the hospital. Yeah. That doesn't mean I didn't do anything at the hospital. Yeah. It's just like in that moment, the doula was I hate to say primary support person, but like from a comfort measure standpoint, she was the one doing most of that type of work. And
advocacy too for us. We had an advocacy situation.
Yeah, like she handled something. So
yeah.
And again, that's again just going down to preparation and communication, and just prepare as if it's going to be long. Don't have expectations.
Always prepare for it to be longer.
Expectations are probably the biggest thing that can probably drain you. Yes. Because with Carson, it felt there were so many moments where it was like, this is it, we're done. Like, she's coming.
This is where we all died.
Yeah. And then 16 hours later, she was there. But like with Harper,
Carson was, let me preface why that was long. Carson was a 20 hour OP, so she was like sunny side up for most of the labor. She turned at the last minute. So like 20 hours of back labor, active like 5 minute or less apart. So to preface why that was long. Yeah. So but like with Harper, we were expecting that to go long, but then so like in that case, having that long expectation helped. Because just the way that it worked, our doula was not there as long, which was fine. She did a great job, but so that meant like I did most of the support at home, and at the hospital. But because just having went so fast, just having that perspective, like this is going to be long. You can try to get whatever rest you can after you're done. Just tough it out. Tough it out. Tell me, guys, I'm curious if you can hear our child Harper, because we might have to end this. That's okay. I think she's awake, but let me know if you can hear Harper or not. And we'll go save her in a second. Other like quick, just to answer that question, maybe, I don't know, if you feel like you should come get her. It's okay if you feel like you need to.
If you're going to talk.
Yeah, I'll talk. You go get our child that's crying. Tips for staying fresh. I really recommend bringing your own snacks. Hospital vending machines don't cut it. DoorDash isn't always available. So I would absolutely get yourself a nice lunch box or cooler or something, and bring lots of snacks, lots of protein, lots of hydration. And ideally, just keep in mind that like smells are going to be really impactful for someone who's in labor. So either eat, I try to eat outside of the room, unless the mom is eating, then like it's kind of like brunch, everyone's eating together. But if mom's really working hard and you're kind of out for one of those breaks, do try to like eat away, I think, just because smells can be really like intensive. But that's one tip, is just snacks, hydrating often, peeing often. It sounds silly, but like you kind of lose track of time. Just really keeping yourself fresh. And another thing I like to do, especially if you're needing a lot of physical support, always sit down. If you're the partner, the support person, and you're in a place you can sit. So for example, if the mom is like leaning over a birth ball, or sitting backwards on the toilet, or on hands and knees or something, if you can in any way like sit or prop yourself, I highly recommend doing that. Just because it saves yourself. And then much like a baby, they'll say sleep when the baby sleeps. If the mom is resting or napping, you need to be resting or napping. And this will happen sometimes, especially if things are early or getting started, or sometimes labors can just kind of be weird. You know, they'll like go and then stop. So if you're at home, for example, no one is in like you're not at the hospital even. You're just kind of having some days of weird contractions, but then they stop. Always rest. Just rest when the mom rests or is able to rest. Or also with in the case of, let's say the mom is laboring really hard and then gets an epidural, very often she will go right to sleep. Sometimes people will be so keyed up, but I would say if you get big moments like that, okay, she's got an epidural, turn the lights down, put a sound machine on, do whatever you can do to quiet that room and get some sleep so that hopefully you can kind of wake up and then keep laboring and have a baby. Our sweet kids. Look, you're back. Hello.
Hi.
I feel like we have a lot of people coming in and out, so thank you, people. Okay, final thing. Someone wanted a funny story about when someone underestimated your knowledge of birth and you got to set them straight.
I thought about this one. I couldn't really think of a time.
Yeah.
There were plenty of times where maybe someone, I'm assuming this is during labor.
Or this could be any time, but yeah.
I don't know. I don't really like setting people straight. So normally if they tell me something I know, I'm just like, hey, thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
So sorry to disappoint on that one. I don't have a funny story.
That's okay.
Yeah.
I was trying to think of one too. I think it's good that you're just knowledgeable. You see, he's obviously, you're my husband, I'm a doula, but I think even when you were a dad, before I became a doula, you were still a very knowledgeable dad, and just, I think that goes along, it kind of goes to that for what we opened up with, just, it benefits everyone if you just, learn about what's happening and, lean into it. You'll know a lot. If I come up with a funny or empowering story, I'll let you know. But, yeah, that's a good answer. And I forgot this one too, sorry. Just kidding. Not last. One more. I was hinting at this before, but what do you do in early labor when not much is happening? How to support someone? This can also apply to end of pregnancy, which can be crazy sometimes. It can be very common in the end of pregnancy to have contractions. Maybe there'll be a day where you kind of have intermittent contractions and it goes away for a couple days and comes back. Some people would call those Braxton Hicks, we've all heard that term. I really like to call it practice contractions or practice labor because they are very real. And I don't think it benefits anyone to say false labor, or even, especially kind of getting closer to the end of pregnancy when your baby's ready to come. A week or two leading up before, it can be very common to have some really good, hearty contractions. Those are the stories of people rushing to the hospital and they kind of get disappointed. They sent me home. They said I wasn't in labor. It was false labor. There's nothing false about what you're feeling. It just means that your body was kind of toning a muscle almost, getting ready, but it wasn't time just yet. So what are some tips? You're very helpful, I think. So do you have any ideas of how you support that period? Or again, early labor, we know early labor can sometimes be 12 or 24 hours, where it will turn into labor that brings a baby, but it takes a little bit to get kicked in. So
yeah, I don't remember if we put it exactly like this, but just reminding you that everything is doing something.
Yes.
So just providing reminders, even if it's those preliminary contractions that may not be, they're still doing something.
Right.
Labor may not begin at that moment.
Yeah.
But
everything is doing something. Hi, Susanna. Hi, Alicia. Yeah.
You in general have a pretty good sense of what is going on with your body.
My spidey senses.
Not just in labor, just in general. So with Harper,
yeah,
what we laid down at whatever it was, and 2 hours later you were we gotta go. I was like,
it's time.
All right. Like, in that moment, like the way to support you was, you know your body pretty well, so I'm not going to be like, are you sure? We just like lay down and go to bed. Just handling logistics, like especially if you have more than one kid.
Early labor,
like,
that's a great partner job.
Understanding, like, you need to get the kids where they need to go.
Yeah.
You need to get the ice packs. You need to get whatever it is. Like,
That's good.
But then this is where your plan begins to kick in.
Yeah.
So with our second and third, we knew that from the first, we learned that water was very important.
Yeah.
For you. So like with our second, especially at home, you just stayed in the tub.
Yeah.
And I think just listening, I think it was with our second too, that did we go for a walk? Like you wanted to go for a walk.
I did.
And I think we made it 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And you were like,
no,
we just need to go back home.
Yeah.
So it's like, all right, let's go. We're going back home.
Yeah, and we did. That's a good distraction. Like early labor can be helpful.
Yeah.
Like just responding to what the person needs, even if it doesn't make sense or even seem that intense. Another good example from that middle labor is that it was like a Friday afternoon. I kind of was having contractions, and I told you, like, I think this is it, but it's still really early.
Mm-hmm.
But would you come home from work? Just because I just want you, right? Hormones, we know that oxytocin is high in labor, so I was feeling that need for, like, I need to feel safe. Christina Livy, hello, hi. I was feeling that need of, like, I just need you here. And what was helpful is you were even like, okay, yeah, I'll come home. Like, you wouldn't have mattered even if it was like a practice day and there wasn't a baby,
Yeah.
Just kind of being willing to do what she's asking you to do and listening to your body, trusting the body, the body, and yeah, that's good. I think. Oh, go ahead. Yeah, sorry.
There are more pauses sometimes in early labor, but probably not sometimes, probably most of the time.
Most of the time.
With the contractions, so letting you rest the way that you wanted to rest, even if that meant I wasn't there.
Yeah.
Because the second one we're talking about was during a World Series game, which I believe was the Mets and Royals. So
yes, the Mets play the Royals.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. But like you rested a lot. Like but like you wanted to go lay down. You specifically wanted to be in bed.
Yeah.
Like there were moments, there were times when you were like, you can just
go watch baseball.
Watch baseball.
Distractions are helpful in early labor. Like it was helpful, and like I said that because at that moment having you there was like too heightened for me. It was like I just want to go rest, and you weren't like, oh, but let me stay. What if the baby like falls out? Like you were just like, okay, cool, I'll go watch the World Series, and that helped me. Again, just trusting and listening. Distractions can be helpful, whether it's you distracting yourself or your partner distracting you or your partner distracting himself. So yeah, that's good.
That's probably another thing is like don't take anything personal.
Yeah.
Just.
Do you have any stories, Ben, of when you could have taken something personal?
None we should probably share right now. Yeah.
Okay. There's a very funny story though.
Yeah, probably not good for Facebook though.
Probably not good for Facebook. Oh wow. I mean, it was not good. Okay.
No. Trying to think. Because each one was so different.
Yeah.
Like with Carson, we tried to sleep.
Yeah.
Which was stupid because we didn't sleep.
Yeah.
Which makes sense. It's your first.
It's your first.
But then even with...
And that was a hard labor.
Yeah. But then Harper, there wasn't much early labor. Like I went to church that night and taught.
Yeah.
I taught with my phone on the podium the whole time.
Yeah.
So I was like, I feel like I'm going to get a text any minute now, but which would be a great way to end a lesson.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, we're halfway done. My wife
wife's
is in labor. I got to go.
I think that was funny because you went and said something like, don't go into labor while I'm gone. And like, as soon as you left, contractions started. And I was like, I'll just wait till like this hour is over to text you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like just being adaptable, especially the first time, because neither of you really know what you're going to go through. Like
Yeah,
even if you have
that's
a plan, it's
flexible.
it's still just a plan. Again, just
That's good early
if you're
labor
in
tips.
tune
Yeah.
already, outside of labor, this is going to help all stages of labor.
Yeah, I agree.
That's all I got.
That's wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for doing this.
You're
Thank you for
welcome.
piecing out to go take care of our crying children we could hear in bed.
Hopefully she's asleep.
Hopefully she's asleep. So thank you guys. I want to give 2 recommendations. Actually 3, just kidding. I have 3 resource recommendations that I will give you. So the first is it's a class that I really do love from evidence-based birth, that the evidence-based birth childbirth class. I do think it is the best I've seen as far as incorporating partner support and comfort measures the whole way through. Of course, like, I'm on staff there, so I know it might be like, you're biased, Victoria. I really do think it's a very excellent product. It's very thoughtful with regard to incorporating partners the whole way through, and especially with regard to teaching advocacy, this is one thing I think if we could go back, we maybe would have worked more on like how to communicate better with hospital staff. That's a really important skill. Not a lot of people have, and I do think this class teaches that. So I'll send a link. Shantae Perryman in Lexington teaches those right now, and she does a great job. So head there. In addition to that, there is a class from Alice Turner called Supporting Her. It is a 2-hour class. It's really fun. She kind of filmed it. I think they're like in a bar. It's kind of like this happy hour feel with a bunch of dads. It's just like dads drinking beers, talking about childbirth. I don't know. It just makes me laugh. But it's kind of nice and cool and relaxed. And it's an online class. Like I said, it's about 2 hours. I am an affiliate of that class, just a bit of disclaimer, but the link I'm going to share is not an affiliate link because I don't remember what my affiliate link is right now. And I just want you to get the information. Even if I didn't know Alice, I would still share it because this is just a really fabulous class. I think we watched that together, the Supporting Her class.
I don't remember.
You don't remember?
No.
Well.
Sorry.
Okay, it's very good. Again, 2 hours, and it's full of like practical, like her teaching dads. I really like it. And then the last is the birth partner. So I will say, full disclosure, I am the doula, I'm the birth geek. You are not super birth geeky, and that's okay. So what I did for him and for me is I categorized it with a bunch of stickies. And because this book kind of reads like a textbook, it really is kind of like a manual to labor. But I really liked having, like my signs of labor sticker there. There's like massage techniques and ideas. So I would say they have like nice little drawings and ideas. As a new doula, I kept this in my birth bag. That's why I put stickies on it. I know like I gave this to you to kind of look at, but it was like, look at these pages. Because sometimes I think, especially if you're like getting really into birth prep, I know that can come off as like intense and kind of crazy sometimes. So a nice way to like break people in is just to give them like specifics. So The Birth Partner by Penny Simkin. This is an older edition. There's a new edition, but I'll link that in the comments too when we're done here. And if you're still live with us, if you have any questions or parting comments, we got some nice stuff early on, but wait a second for that to roll in. But otherwise, thank you guys. Thank you for doing this.
You're
Very
welcome.
appreciative. Yeah, very thankful. Ben, I know there's a couple doulas that were watching or will watch this. I think it's really important, that the whole family can be together in doula work. It doesn't always happen, and I understand that every family is unique, but it is really special and helpful when everybody can kind of be on board. And I really appreciate that with you. I know it doesn't always happen, so I really appreciate that. And I'm trying to think what else to say. I don't think any other questions are going to come in, so that's okay. Unless we lost comments. I don't think we did.
I don't think so.
Anyway, okay. Well, you guys have a good night. Thank you. Bye.